This certainly looks a little different.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from our brand new studio in downtown Phoenix. Everybody, aren't you fired up to see HQ3? It's beautiful, it's pristine, it's everything we could have imagined it to be. And of course, I'm just kidding because we are in our home setups. Kevin, he just moved his home setup, a little bit better looking than mine. I am Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas. And as you can see behind me, I don't have much in terms of decoration for the people, Kevin. So it's gonna be a little bit of a bland set day over here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But we are fired up to be in the brand new studio at HQ3 on Monday.
Yeah, Damon. Look, I was supposed to have a little bit more decoration on my wall behind me. I'm actually downstairs in the dining room kitchen area. I was not supposed to be down here. It was a whole thing getting myself down here today, but I'm excited to be on this pod. TGIF, seriously, people in the chat. Thank goodness it's Friday. I'm very excited to talk about this pod. And yeah, Michael says, you really weren't kidding, Damon. You got some empty ass walls. And, I mean, the man is nothing if not a ball.
I'm honest.
And you don't need much to know ball. No wall decor required to know ball. Thank you, Michael. I also, I have the green thumb going a little bit, just a little bit here. And then Sam Albert's in the chat. Shout out to Carl as well in the chat. It's a good Friday, David. Talking some Arizona Wildcats basketball, and just people disrespecting us constantly all the time.
Yeah, it does feel that way. It's not as if it's like a disrespect, but it hampers back for me, at least, to the FBI scandal era where every single school that was worth their snuff in basketball was named in some way, shape, or form, whether that was like a player that ended up going to their school but was maybe talking to a different school specifically about how much money he was going to get paid, or Zion talking 7-figure payouts at Duke. It just felt like the outrage was so misconstrued directly at Arizona in particular. Like, it was like Arizona was the school that could get the headlines, but also we don't feel bad about taking down a peg. And I kind of feel like that stays consistent a little bit with, even more less serious discussions like something like this, where the Field of 68 and Jeff Goodman are just talking about their analysis for each team, right? And they didn't necessarily trash Arizona, but it just feels like it's always so inconsistent with Arizona versus how the other top tier national programs are treated in the scope of college basketball.
Yeah, especially when you look at when Arizona does something to the same level as another program that they're more comfortable praising, right? They kind of move the field goals. And I tweeted about this last night. I'm all good with the Field of 68 doing what they do, as long as you keep it consistent, right? And I think that is the problem with some of this stuff. And we get it, Damon. You and I get it. Doing the media stuff every day, especially, you talk for a long time. And sometimes you end up talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's a thing that happens, right? But I think I guess in this case specifically Jeff Goodman, but in general, media outlets that are talking about Arizona, that's a crisp sound. That are talking about Arizona, they often like to have slightly lower standards for teams like Duke and Kentucky and coaches that they love. The standards aren't nearly as high for Tommy Lloyd, or they're higher than they are. You know what I'm trying to say here. Tommy Lloyd can run 2 miles and they'd give him credit for 1.5. John Shire could run a mile and they'd give him credit for 3. You know what I mean? And I think what Duke has put together specifically, and I guess we can start talking about this now, like what Duke has put together in terms of their recruiting class for the upcoming year is very impressive, right? If I go ahead and you know, look it up right now off the top of my head, like what they've been able to do with the Boozers, what they've been able to do with Nicholas Hamania, who Arizona was interested in, Sebastian Wilkins, Dame Sarr, who's a very good player from Italy, and you also have a transfer from Rice getting after it for Duke next year as well. It's a great class. It's a phenomenal class. But I think that it's unfair to look at that class and think that it's, I know that Dame Sarr is incredible, so don't get me wrong, but I think it's wrong to, yes, they do, Saul. And they were supposed to be worked on already. Give me 24 more hours. Damn.
Saul, I warned the people all week when we were told that we were going to be doing a Friday show. I said, listen, the wall at my new spot, bare bones. Bare bones. I don't got much to work with. I only moved in 2 months ago. How could you expect me to get wall decorations up there yet? I mean, it's unbelievable. But yes, he says get up on my level. Saul does have, in fact, probably the best up, or if not, it's up there for sure of camera shots for a remote setup. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I am trying to get on Saul's level specifically, but man, the Wi-Fi not working in my home office today, not optimal. Had to bring the whole setup downstairs. You don't even get to see the cool bobbleheads that I've acquired. It's a whole thing that I wish I could showcase today.
I'm sorry. Did you just say downstairs?
Correct. Well, actually, I think I said upstairs, but yeah, there are stairs.
How many stairs? Is this like you live in like a 5-story mansion, Kevin?
I would go over and count how many stairs there are right now, but I don't know. That feels like poor podcasting. I'm going to assume there's like probably 24 stairs.
Bro has home offices. He has multiple stories. I mean, you're never escaping we pay you tons of money allegations, Kevin.
I wish that I could be trying to sneak, on these allegations. I would love to get a part of these allegations if that was the case. Maybe Saul could make this happen. Hey, pay me an exorbitant amount of money, and then I could start hiding my money, and people would never know. But yeah, Damon, like the home setup does need some work. But like I was saying, 24 stairs, like individual stairs, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then maybe it's more like 18. But it doesn't matter how many stairs are in between the first and second floors of my house. But there's not that many stairs between Arizona's recruiting class and Duke's recruiting class. And I think people act as if there is like 3 stories between those two classes, and that Duke is just like better, and their players are more ready, and because they go to Duke, right? Like I believe Jeff Goodman came out and said that he loves what Arizona did this summer, which is actually not what he said a couple months back. But again, I give him grace on that because things change. You talk every day. You're bound to maybe change your own opinion over the course of a summer. Like I know if you hear me praise ADO, you're probably thinking, isn't this the same guy that just said get ADO off my television screen mere months ago? So I get it. But he did say that Arizona was a loser in the offseason. And now all of a sudden he's given them, I believe, a B+ in his offseason grades. John Fanta gave Arizona an A-. But when asked about the outlook of Arizona's freshmen, I believe Jeff Goodman said, I love who Arizona brought in as freshmen. I just don't love that they're freshmen. However, when talking about Duke, he brought up that the freshmen are ready to compete and that you have the Boozers and all they've done is win. And I'm thinking to myself, high-level 5-star, all he's done is win, 4-time gold medalist, 4-time state champion. Which Boozer am I talking about? Oh, that's Koa Peat. Like, I didn't understand the argument of all the Boozers have ever done is win when Koa Peat is the most winningest high school basketball player you could find. There's not a guy, you can't compete at a higher level than Koa Peat. There are no more competitions. He plays in them all, right? So I feel as though the same reason people come at Espo for, well, the same reason, but part of the same reason people come at Espo for his lists is the same reason why Arizona fans are going at Goodman for his recent take, is because they're looking at it like, please keep the logic consistent throughout your evaluations, right? You can't look at Duke and look at the boozers and look at the name value and look at the brand value and say they just produce winners. So of course the boozers are winners. All they've ever done is win. Look at their dad. He was a winner. And then look at Arizona and be like, I just don't love that they have a bunch of freshmen. And it's like, well, Duke has primarily a bunch of freshmen and they're ready to win. But Arizona has 6 freshmen probably I'll say 3 that they're going to really truly rely on. And they're not ready to compete or win. I don't really get the logic in that. But I think that if you wanted to make the argument, right, there is an argument to be made against the freshmen. And it's that they're freshmen. And that when's the last time that a freshman has really carried a team all the way to the national championship game and won it? Like you're going back to like AD, right? Or am I tripping on that? I don't know. I think you're going back to like AD. Someone please fact check on that if you're in the chat. But yeah, and I think for if you want to levy that criticism, it's fine and be like, I don't believe that Arizona's freshmen are going to be good enough to weather the storm all year, and they might show flashes of being really good, but when it comes to carrying a team, you need that second, third, fourth year, fifth year guy potentially, right? That's an opinion people have. Like, for example, Corey Williams is of that opinion usually. He is usually the guy, former Arizona Wildcat, that doesn't really believe that true freshmen can carry that type of a load until it's shown that they can do so, right? But I just don't think that that's an argument that you can consistently always levy. Because when you combine 3 of those type of freshmen on one team, like Duke has, like Arizona has, I think it changes the math a little bit. And when you look at Arizona's exact context, where you're adding 3 elite freshmen to really productive returners like Tobe Awaka, who might be the best rebounder in America, Jaden Bradley, who's one of the best point guards in America, ADO, one of the best shooters in the country. You know what I mean? Like, you have productive returning players. Mo Krivas is a returning player as well. And then you're adding these blue chip freshmen. So it's not like Arizona just lost its whole roster, kind of like Duke did, went out, got a bunch of elite freshmen, and now said, carry us, right? Arizona had a good year last year, fell short, maintained the pieces that it could from that successful team, and said, let's just put a bunch of blue chips in there and see what we got. And so I think that you can make the argument that you're worried about Arizona's freshmen being able to compete and carry them because freshmen don't do that. But then don't go around and tell me that Duke is going to win it all this year because they have Cameron Boozer and Caden Boozer and Dame Sarr, because you just made the same argument for Arizona. In fact, I think Arizona's roster of returning players, I'd have to look at it for Duke again, might be better than what Duke is returning. But yeah, that's my little on the recent takes flying around.
I think it is certainly better than Duke's returning players. And I think that's a good point from you, Kevin, is just that, like, if you're going to keep it consistent, when you're talking about whether or not freshmen can win and what a blue chip freshman brings to the table in terms of tournament success. But I did want to say, and clarify something just in the spirit of honesty. And also because I think it would be highly hypocritical of us, given how this week has gone over at PHNX Sports, to attribute the offseason loser moniker to Jeff Goodman, because it was actually Rob Doster who called Arizona an offseason loser. And when you said that Jeff Goodman did that, I was like, I had to look it up real quick just to clarify.
I'm glad you did that.
But I was like, it immediately made me think of people saying that me and you value Kenny Dillingham 3 tiers higher than Tommy Lloyd because we work at PHNX Sports with Espo and for Espo, which would just be insane. So I did want to just clarify that. I think that, and it'd be one thing if he just like didn't mince his words, I guess would be my 2 cents, Kevin. Like if he was like, you know what, I think Duke's freshmen are just a little bit better than Arizona's freshmen. Yeah. And that's why I have them with the ability to win a national championship, where Arizona's, I think, are elite and will be an elite caliber team because of it, but it's not going to be enough. I would be fine with that. But it's when you start, it's the inconsistencies of, well, these guys have the best incoming freshmen. They're going to the national championship. These guys, they're great. Their freshmen are great, but they're freshmen, so they can't make the national championship. That would be insane. It's like, well, you literally just spoke out of both sides of your mouth there.
Yeah. And, this discourse, I do want to, and I'll catch up with you on Monday about this topic in particular, but I want to go back this weekend and do some research about gold medal winning freshmen coming in. What do they usually do? Like a guy like Koa Peat, first of all, he's the only, I believe, only 3-time, and then by proxy, also only 4-time gold medalist. I think Saul, maybe if he's still in the chat, can correct me on that if I'm wrong, getting my numbers mixed up. But I would love to see like the track record of multiple time gold medal winners or World Cup winners or whatever the competition is at the high school level. When they get to college, how do they do? Because I'm interested, like if people, not even Field of 68 now, like we can just talk anybody that consumes college basketball content. If people think that the Boozer twins, one or the other, is better than, I'll just say Koa Peat, is better than Koa Peat, then I would like them to direct themselves to the Team USA roster where you find neither Boozer and you find Koa Peat. And I think that like the level, if we're talking level of play, and I'll repeat myself once again, like there is no higher level of play than what Koa Peat has been able to find himself playing at, right? I think that this is a guy who, if we're talking about winning anywhere he goes, I don't think his season, I don't think he's ever played in a season that's ended in a loss. I think that would be an impossibility for Koa Peat.
Which is wild.
It's unbelievable. Wild. It's unbelievable. And so like you want your logic to be like, well, these Duke freshmen, all they do is win, when all Koa Peat's ever done is win. He's really rarely ever lost. I think if he catches a loss this year in college, I don't even know what he's going to do. He might not even remember what it feels like to lose. You know what I mean? Michael says, dude is literally the definition of a winner, and that is very true. And I'm not saying all this to take away from Cameron, Caden, and the Boozers and Dame Sarr and what they have going on at Duke, because that's an incredible class. Like that is a real deal, heavy hitter type of class. But if you're going to say that they're going to go compete for a national title, and then use the logic of, I think the freshmen know how to win and that they can carry a team. Don't come back around and tell me that Koa Peat can't do the same thing, because we've seen it, not at the college level, but every opportunity he's ever gotten, Damon.
Yeah, I mean, what else does Koa Peat have to prove to people? And that's kind of where I was at when I was talking about his ranking in lead up to him being a Wildcat officially, was just like, I just don't even know what they want to see, because it's not like he's the Nico Mannion mold. And I had someone in my mentions compare Nico Mannion and Koa Peat to me the other night. Not in like, not trying to be disrespectful to that guy. I appreciate the discourse, but my response was just, frankly, like, because it was to my tweet saying that I think Koa Peat will be a lock to average more than 16.8 points per game next season. And I'll tell you why my thought process goes there. It's because, this team is, while it's deep and while it's loaded, it's in need of a primary scorer. There is no one that has that primary scorer label clear as day on this roster already. There's no Caleb Love. There's no Ben Matherin. Like, there are opportunity to get volume up. And we know from watching Tommy Lloyd teams that he knows how to get his big men and his front court players in particular very easy buckets and good looks, right? So I think Koa Peat is the best front court player that Tommy Lloyd has had by a wide margin. And I think that combination of the front court looks plus the need for a primary scorer, that's just going to lead to a slew of points for a guy as good as Koa Peat. Now, the response to me was basically that last time we had a freshman that we kind of needed to lead the charge, for example, in Nico Mannion. That was just the example that was given to me. He wasn't up to the task. It was too high of a level for him too early in that freshman season. And then he ultimately left after 1 year, and I think he's doing his thing overseas, not an NBA player. What up?
What up, guys?
The thing with sorry, I got a little
bit. Nico Mannion, Koa Peat. Nico Mannion can handle the load offensively.
Nico Mannion is about 6'1", 185 pounds, sopping wet. Koa Peat is 6'8", 245. The guy is built like an NBA player as a junior in high school. It's just a completely different type of player. to
And
me.
to your-
and
to
you
your
can't
point-
you can't really compare that.
To your point, right? Michael says it in the chat. He references Brayden Burries being a little bit older and also just being a little bit more stocky and muscular and ready to compete in the Big 12 conference. We all saw the video of Dwayne Aristode throw that dunk down in practice and then go, say what's up to Koa Peat. They're the same size. I know that they're not literally the same size, right? That would be an insane thing. But like they are similar frames and they're both muscular and ready to compete in the conference and they're ready for that physicality, I feel like, based on their frames. So I think that it's an unfair argument, like you said, to say otherwise, that the freshmen aren't ready based on just their standing in college, right? These are not the same level of freshmen that you get every other year.
But listen, guys, I'm going to chime in if that's cool with you guys.
Go
I really
for it.
just came on just to show the background because you guys, we were just talking about it a little bit ago.
Wow.
You'd a big dog us like that. That's not chill. On my own podcast.
Here I am, like, Saul's gonna come in. He was watching the show. He has a great take. He just wants to let off a Koa Peat take or a Dwayne Aristode take, and he's like, "Nah, let's just show off the set. Let's just up the show. Let's just up the production value on this show here."
I think one, Koa Peat has won 3 gold medals, so there you go.
Gotcha.
And then 2, I think you guys are spot on about Koa Peat, his physical abilities, the position he plays, his flexibility in terms of, or his versatility in terms of how many positions he could play, and really his measurable, or not his measurables, but his skills to be able to handle the ball, shoot the ball, take it to the rack, like all that stuff, right? Nico Mannion, I don't know if you guys know who Kevin McCabe is, but he's a local legendary broadcaster, sports broadcaster, does radio for high school stuff. He told me in the moment, he's like, Nico Mannion's the best player to ever come out of Arizona. And immediately I said, no, he's not even close. Stop with your nonsense. Because Nico Mannion had some flaws that nobody wanted to really talk about. Mainly, he was a smart player and he could score, but he was never the level of like a Mike Bibby. He just wasn't. Like, I've seen Mike Bibby drop like 54 in the state championship against the #1 team in the country in Mountain View, who all were like just a thoroughbred team of like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'9", and 7 foot. Like that was their entire starting 5. Like, that's how good Mountain View was at that moment. And they won the state championship over Mike Bibby, but Bibby did everything he could to win that championship. And I was like, that's an incredible performance by Bibby, right? Sean Elliott, physically just a gift. And that's where I go with Koa Peat, is physically, he's got all the tools. He's got all the gifts. There is no weakness in Koa Peat's physical arsenal. And with Nico Mannion, he was just not able to develop that jumper at a lethal rate like a Bibby would. Like, you could not leave Mike Bibby open, straight up, just could not. And he was so cerebral. And so that's where I went with Nico Mannion. I didn't think that was a proper comparison, and I didn't think that was fair to him. And I wasn't surprised to see what happened with Nico when he was here, because it just seemed like he just was not that elite enough. He needed 2 or 3 years in college to really develop, to get himself to the NBA. But again, he's one of those cautionary tales, just like Marcus Williams back in the day, where they think they're a lot better than they actually are and what they produced at this level, and their physical traits don't really match up at the NBA level. Now they find themselves overseas playing ball. So these are the things that I look at, and when I look at Koa Peat, I don't see.
And I think, real quick on the Nico Mannion thing, to wrap that up, I didn't even think he was the best freshman on his own team in coming that year, right? Like, I think when that was my freshman year on campus. So I arrive and I'm thinking, oh, Nico Mannion, dog, absolutely about to dominate, home state kid. I love this, because I'm watching the highlights in St. Louis, right? So I'm thinking, oh, he's a mixtape machine. Mm-hmm. But, that incoming class, you got Josh Green, Zeke Najee, Christian Koloko, all those guys, better basketball players than Nico Mannion. And when you watch them on the court, I think like the athleticism of a Josh Green stood out immediately. The raw tools of a guy like Zeke Najee stood out immediately. Same thing with Christian Koloko, but to a lesser extent, because he just wasn't necessarily as ready. But yeah, I think you're right on the money there with Nico Mannion. The flaws were there. And we've talked about this on a show in the past about how Koa Peat being underrated is also in part indicative of just how talented this year of freshman players are, right? Because if you go back and look at that 2019 recruiting rankings, you have Anthony Edwards. Okay, duh. James Wiseman, everybody was super high on him. I remember that. Number 2, that's fair. But now you're talking Cole Anthony, Isaiah Stewart, RJ Hampton, Vernon Carey, Scotty Lewis, and then Nico Mannion. Koa Peat is probably the 3rd best player in this class if you really go back and do it. I would probably rank him 2nd over James Wiseman, but hindsight bias is 2020. We know James Wiseman was not that guy, but back then I think you'd probably have him over Koa Peat just off the projections alone. So yeah, I think Koa Peat deserves to be thought of higher in this incoming class, and I think is somewhat a victim of just being in a really strong year of players.
What do we always say? Well, what do I always say about if you're going to go pro, you have to have one discernible skill that is undeniable that can be elite at the NBA level. I don't care if it's your defensive prowess, your passing, your shooting, something. You have to point to something, right? Nico Mannion never had any of that. And that was the problem with Nico Mannion. Somebody said Mustafa Shakur. Yeah, but Mustafa Shakur's played 4 years. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, he's going to test the waters. Koa Peat, for right now, physically, that's his skill. Like, now what he can do around that in developing that mid-range jump shot, which is already pretty good, developing the finishing at the rim, which I've said plenty of times, and I know it's going to get better because physically they're going to test him in practice. But you saw in the World Cup, there was a couple times where he got to the rim, but he wasn't able to finish. And that was because, he just hasn't finessed enough at the rim yet, right? Getting his body in position, using his elbows, and things of that nature, which will get better in practice. I promise you, that's going to be one of Tommy's main points is like, hey, if you're going to take it to the rack, you better finish because you're too big not to. And then obviously the outside shot. I think the outside shot is another. Everything else, ball handling wise, passing wise, there are no issues. Like, he is as stable and as fundamentally sound as they come. So I think Koa Peat's ceiling is far higher than just about everybody else that's coming in as a freshman right now, outside of maybe you can make an argument for 1 or 2, but it's pretty hard to, because when you look at like AJ, it's probably his best comparable in terms of like who's really projected to be a high level player. But AJ's got freak athletic ability too. And so like those two are like neck and neck for me. When I saw them in person, I was just like, how do you choose between these two? They're both amazing. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to come out and say that. I wanted to show off the background and give you guys a little, hey, listen, sometimes you got to flex, and it's Flex Friday, right? So here you go.
It is. It's also free ad Friday. So make sure you get those in while you can. But so I don't know. Did you see any of the Jeff Goodman comments in regards to the Arizona versus Duke freshman? And I'll bring this up on screen here. Jeff Goodman said, "I love who Arizona brought in as a freshman. I just don't love that they're freshmen." Breaking down Tommy Lloyd's offseason. Any thoughts on this?
Listen, I think your comment about consistency is right there. And I think this is where the Duke brand gets more of a nudge and a heads up than Arizona. And listen, to be fair, not wrong. Like, Duke has gone to the Final Four plenty of times in the last 24 years since Arizona's been there. They have proven their consistency as a program, and even them getting to the Final Four with Shire this year lends itself to future success with recruits and development, right? Like, so you take that with a grain of salt. Now, with that being said, at some point, Tommy Lloyd's going to break through, and if there's any freshman crew to be able to do it, it's going to be this crew. And watching Cooper Flagg in person and his physical abilities, his cerebralness, and just the dog in him, I see a lot of that with this crew. I might not be all in one person, but I do see it with this crew and this group of freshmen. And I do think that they have the ability, because I would say the same thing. Corey has said it on McHale Madness. Like, he doesn't trust freshmen either. So it's not just a singular thing, but to your point, Damon, the consistency. If you're going to sit there and say Duke is going to be awesome because of these freshmen, but Arizona is going to be awesome but come up short with these freshmen, and you look at the freshmen, just the freshmen in isolation, I don't know how you can make that comparison and say that, because this group of freshmen is as good as anybody else in the country. So Jeff Goodman, listen, I know he gets a lot of hate, and some of it is definitely deserved. I mean, don't get me wrong. He puts his foot in his mouth way too many times, especially considering he's a U of A alum. But at the same time, I kind of
Sorry, I'm coming up with a bit of a cough over here. That's my bad.
So we're gonna detour. So just so you all know, like, I didn't say anything on Twitter because I'm not about that life right now. I'm not trying to hear this nonsense because I already know, and you guys are taking strays left and right. Hell, I caught a stray because somebody said they were talking about the GM at PHNX, and somebody said Saul's always been a clown. I was like, bro, I'm not even the GM anymore. Like, it is what it is, right? People are going to make their own opinions and their own assertions, but that was egregious. And I was furiously texting Espo, like, what the F are you talking about, my guy? And again, to your point yesterday, and I did listen to the pod, to your point yesterday, you guys talked about, it's not the fact that Kenny Dillingham was up there. It's the fact that you had my man, Tommy Lloyd, on the last rung.
With a gorilla!
And listen, Alyssa Thomas, she's an amazing basketball player. She could damn well be the MVP this year. She just had 4 or 5 straight triple doubles. If Tommy Lloyd and her walked into a grocery store, I guarantee you Tommy Lloyd gets noticed more than Alyssa Thomas. Come on, man. Like, and I love her to death. There's other players there, like Sam Leavitt, bro. Don't even get me started on Sam Leavitt. Sure, you can walk around Phoenix, and some of the people around here in Tempe might be like, "Oh yeah, Sam Leavitt." It's football. You barely see their faces anyway. Everybody remembers Cam Scattaboo, but it took a year of hype for Cam Scattaboo to get that love.
He also has like a unique head shape. It's a real big head.
Get any love at all last year. He was not the reason why ASU was so awesome until they almost beat Texas. Oh, and now this guy, because he's the quarterback, and that's how short-sighted everybody is. Oh, now we're going to give him some love. He might be a Heisman contender. Well, you got to say that because they damn near beat your SEC love in Texas, ESPN. So spare me with that BS. Tommy Lloyd should have been on that second rung, if not the first. I'm not going to say he's higher than Devin Booker because that's egregious, but he definitely should have been right there, right next to KD, at a minimum 1 rung below. And that is all I will say about that.
I love,
you know what? I was way more mad. Like, we were talking obviously way more about having a mascot on the same tier as Tommy Lloyd. We were talking more about having,
that's not even a real person.
No, it's not.
It's actually probably several people over the course of years.
Kenny Dillingham and Tommy Lloyd are 3 tiers separated from one another. I actually think that you're on the money there, Saul. Sam Leavitt being above Tommy Lloyd is actually probably the single most egregious one on that list.
Egregious.
What the hell are we talking about?
And the funny thing is that in all love to Espo, he's my guy. I like him. I used to love him. Now I like him because he was talking about in the moment, as we are sitting right here, who is the face of Arizona sports? You tell me, if you did not put that graphic up, how many people in this space, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever, would have said the freaking gorilla? 0. Not a damn person.
Maybe
Not
the gorilla.
one.
Maybe the gorilla.
Not one. Not a single. Even the gorilla would have been like, nah, man, I'm not for that life. Come on, man. Like, no. Like, miss me with that stuff, man. It was so... I got to stop because I'm going to say something out of pocket and I don't want to do that. So anyway.
But yeah, I love the fire on the Friday, Saul. We had Pete Souza on a couple Fridays ago, and I'm learning, Damon, that after a long week of podcasting, you and I just need a guest on a Friday to just pump us up. Pump us the hell up. Because you're right. Like, if you put Sam Leavitt in a grocery store, they're just going to think he's some guy from Sig Ep up the street. And
he looks like every ASU kid.
That's just making an alcohol run. He's making an alcohol run for the frat house, and he's just the guy that had to do it. But he takes care of himself. He's in the gym, you can tell. But you don't look at him and think like, oh, dude, that's the Heisman candidate.
No, he's super talented. Super talented. That's not the argument here. You said face of Arizona sports, and he's not the face of Arizona sports. He's not even, listen, when it comes to faces, he can't cut the mustard, let alone lick the jar. Okay? So I don't want to hear that mess. It's Tommy Lloyd, Kenny Dillingham, I can see, listen, because it's college football and college football is just a notch below NFL and everybody loves it. And as far as they got last year, I can understand why. And all the hype on ESPN, I can understand why you would say Kenny Dillingham. He's got the personality. He's got the flavor. Even people in Tucson, they won't admit it, but they like Kenny Dillingham. But when it comes to the face, Tommy Lloyd he's just right there. He's right there with KD. And when it comes to records and overall success, he has far surpassed KD. That's not even a comparison. So anyway, you guys, listen, I'm sorry that you guys took so many strays. It's unfortunate. Damon, I saw the comment about the guy that said he's not going to follow the pod anymore because, you guys, I'm like, I want to say this. Do people realize these two guys bust their ass day in, day out? They get paid to do their job. It's a living wage. Hello. Like, to think that you guys would just quit because Espo said something out of pocket for like the 9,000th time is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard and seen. Like, people in this age of clickbait and this age of like just overreaction, especially with all the things that are going on in the world, put the Twitter thumbs down and take a deep breath and realize like these two guys are good dudes and they're doing everything they can to give you the news and about your favorite team in all of the land, the Arizona Wildcats, and show them some love all the time. That's all I got to say.
Much appreciated, Saul. It means a lot. It means the world. And thank you for popping in here on a Friday, a Fire Us Up Friday. That's what we're going to start doing around here. Fire us up on a Friday, get some guests in, get some new energy in. But we got to hit a break here on the AZ Wildcats pod. Appreciate you, Saul. Have a good rest of your Friday, my man.
You too.
Well, Kevin.
Well, Damon. Yeah, I mean, we're not in the studio, so the chemistry is a bit off there. I kind of stepped on your toes, but I do want to talk about our friends over at Circle K, because Circle K, it's America's thirst stop. It's the Freedom State's thirst stop, and it can be your thirst stop and the home of savings, some might say, because if you're in that inner circle, you get 25 cents off on your first 5 fill-ups, and then after that, you get 3 cents off on every single time that you fill up at the pump until you graduate into that 5 cents off per gallon inner circle there, as some like to say. And the savings, they don't stop there. You go into the Circle K, go into the thirst stop, you can find Polar Pops for 79 cents. You could find Frosters. You could find deals on Gatorades, deals on all types of stuff, alcohol. I think they have scratch-offs. Don't quote me on that. But all types of stuff at Circle K. If you want it, they have it, and it's there for you. So join the Inner Circle today for free by downloading the Circle K app. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
A company that just goes perfectly hand in hand with our friends at Circle K is Pure Edibles. You hear us talk about them all the time over here at PHNX Sports, and that's because we love their products. It's not, like those kind of like garbage, sugary ones, although they do taste great and they taste like candy, but they have real effects and they have real ingredients. They're unique cannabinoids with different types of effects that are clearly marked on the tins. Whether, you want some help with your sleep, maybe you want a little bit more of an uplifting effect or anything else, they got it locked and loaded over there. CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC in the Pure Edibles gummies. Created out of Flagstaff, Arizona at Noble Herb Dispensary, now made here in the great city of Phoenix. Designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable and easy to dial in your exact dose that you're looking for. Guys, go to one of the 130-plus dispensaries in the Valley or in the state of Arizona that have Pure Edibles. And if you're going to one of the 40 or so that doesn't, find yourself a new damn dispensary because you're not doing it right. Go find some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
I'm really happy Saul hopped in today, Damon.
Me too. We needed that.
I know he initially joined to flex on us and make us feel bad about ourselves and our homes that we love and live in, but it's fine. That's not neither here nor there, because he did wrap it up with some great takes, and that's why we have Saul on the pod, every once in a while to do his thing.
I love, what we need. Sorry, it was buffering a little bit, so it made it seem like you were not good talking on my end.
I was like, you're gonna
perks of not being in the studio together. I know that Kevin, you already are a confirmed Sam Leavitt hater. Mm-hmm. Saul sounded like he's very much in that camp as well. I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. I really am.
Hater's not the right term. I like to say truther. Like I want.
Yeah, that's what a hater says, though.
I want the perspective on Sam Leavitt to be correct. Like in reality, I can hop in a cold open and I can ask the question of, does Sam Leavitt actually suck? Whoa. And it's funny, but like in reality, like I think Sam Leavitt's a good quarterback. Like I think he is talented. I think he is going to do well next year for ASU. I don't think that he's some, extraordinary talent that is a lock to be a Heisman candidate and nothing could go wrong. Like, I don't know what he could have shown us to this point that would tell us that. We don't even think that about Noah Fafita. And we think that he is one of the best ball throwers in the country. Like pound for pound, size for size, Noah Fafita is one of the best, right? And I think that you and I both, like, we acknowledge that Noah Fafita is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but we're not like out over our skis. I know last year was last year, and like, you can't really come off of a year like that. But even coming off of the Alamo Bowl, I wasn't like, no, Fafita, that's the Heisman next year. I mean, I was like, he could maybe play his way into that conversation, but he's not coming. Like, you can't just assume that. And so, like Sam Albert says in the chat, Sam Leavitt is not a game changer, right? And there's no shame in that. I think like nowadays, like you throw the term around like game manager and some people get offended. They're like, what do you mean he's a game manager? Like, he's awesome. I love him. And like, dude, some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time are game managers all time. The GOAT. The GOAT can't run a 40, guys. I don't know if you guys know that, but he, even in his prime, couldn't run a damn 40. So like calling Sam Leavitt like talented, but unproven and a game manager instead of a game changer is not, one, it's not incorrect. And two, it's not unfair because like he hasn't shown us the capability to change the game. Like Cam Scatterboo last year for ASU changed the game when he was in there, right? Yep. Sam Leavitt did his best to not screw it up. And if he could add to that and he could showcase some talent, great. Cherries on top, sprinkles on top, right? But and honestly, this year will be more of a test of this, but he has yet to be like the full offense himself. Like he has yet to be in charge of steering the ship on his own, right? Without a guy next to him kind of holding the right side while he holds the left side. And I think like, again, not saying that he can't do it, but he hasn't seen it yet, or I haven't seen it from him yet. And so, yeah, I'm not a Sam Leavitt hater, but I would love if the perspective, especially up here in Phoenix, would be a little bit more realistic as to what Sam Leavitt can actually do on a football field and what, as opposed to what you think he's going to do on a football field.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, like you said that he's not a guy who's going to win you games. Maybe he is this season, but he wasn't last season, and that's all we have to base off of right now. And this is, I feel like, I'm glad that ASU fans don't actually mostly watch this show unless Glenn is lurking here somewhere. But like I've been getting into it with people online because I've been saying that 2023 Arizona football, in my opinion, it was slightly better than 2024 Arizona State football. And that's not to say that I think ASU was some bum team last year. I think they had a really good squad. I just think that our team was slightly better. And I brought actual statistical evidence to the table as Jack makes his, I think, first appearance on the podcast. Truly the best guest that we've had in show history.
The guy was barking. I had to try to get him under control. So here we are.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, I've just been going to war, Sam. I apologize for that, buddy. But what started off was me just replying and agreeing with another Arizona fan, and of course, ASU fans just have to. They are waiting on my every word, but they're totally not obsessed with me, and they're sitting there, with my tweet notifications on. But I didn't say anything that was out of pocket. Arizona had a higher ranked offense, higher ranked defense, better special teams, played a harder schedule. I think that you can make that argument. How I was going to kind of tie that into what we're talking about right now. I've said, Kevin, like Sam Leavitt is like, he was a game manager who did a great job of protecting the football, but when the going got tough in the Peach Bowl and you needed him to be dynamic, all he could give you was stuff with his legs. He was really effective running the football and kind of reading when he needed to escape the pocket and tuck the ball and run against Texas. But as Sam puts up here in the chat, he was horrific throwing the football. I watched it with my own eyes. He was the third best quarterback in the game. His own running back was better at throwing the football than him. Fact. The most dynamic passing play in that game from ASU's standpoint was a Cam Scadaboo thrown touchdown for about 45 yards. I mean, and listen, and then he ends the game with an interception. He has a lot to prove, man. He has a lot to prove before he's face of the state, before he's Heisman contender. I think it's absolutely egregious to just assume that he's going to just make this massive leap because why? He's tall, he has a big arm, he's athletic, and you think he's good looking? Or like, I guess I just don't really understand because it's not like we've seen that yet tangibly.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that, right, Damon? And in terms of like what Sam Leavitt has done and what he could do, right? Like the guy, it does him no favors for people to assume that he is the Heisman, for people to assume that he is this, extraordinary talent. It does him no favors, to be honest with you. Like Espo putting him that high on the list, or whatever pundit telling people that he's going to be this or that, like that does him no favors. Because now if it comes out and has the same year as last year or a slightly better year than he did last year, now all of a sudden he underwhelmed and disappointed and Sam Leavitt is no good. Like, you know what I mean? I think like that's why I try to, and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm trying to help him out. I really am. Like I'm trying to keep people's perspectives on Sam Leavitt even so that when he comes out and is who Sam Leavitt is, no one's going to like Totri's not going to be having a conniption thinking about why didn't he make that pass in the fourth quarter against Iowa State? It's because he hasn't ever made that pass in the fourth quarter against a team that you need to beat for anything that, you know what I mean? Like, so it, like you said, and I think it's really important to mention this as well before people construe this the wrong way and think I'm a hater. Like he could totally be a different quarterback this year. He could come out and be changed, developed, different, more mature as a passer, a better decision maker, a more crisp passer as well. Like he could be all these things, and he could also be the same Sam Leavitt from last year. And I just think like the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And so just coming out to Heisman expectations and CFP expectations, does that help him? I don't think so. So I think we just got to keep it a buck on not Cam Scadaboo. That was the real leader of last year's team, but keep it a buck on Sam Leavitt.
As Edgar says, I lost ASU fans when I brought up actual statistics and evidence to back up my point. And it was funny because Eric Ruby brought it up to me this morning, and similarly to how he replied to it on his Twitter account yesterday, he had nothing of actual importance to say on the matter. He just wanted to laugh and outright dismiss it as ridiculous, which is egregious in its own right. But Kevin, we do have to talk a little bit of Arizona fall camp, as well as I did want to look at the grade the field of 60. I know we kind of went off topic there because we had to get some Sam Leavitt takes off, but Field of 68 did do their offseason grades. We'll take a peek at that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
And I want to talk to everybody at home about Monarch Money. Monarch Money is the best way to manage your finances, ladies and gentlemen. It is the all-in-one CFO tool that you need to manage your income, your expenses, your bills, your monthly subscriptions. It can help you out with all of that. It can really help you sort out, if you have an extra expenditure recurring that you did not know about, Monarch will detect that and let you know about it in advance. And you could also set and smash goals with Monarch Money. So make sure to check out our friends over at Monarch Money. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. You would not be the first. You won't be the last. Believe the CNBC's top fine tech companies in the world and over 34,000 users that rated 5 stars or better. So use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year with code PHNX with our friends over at Monarch Money.
You guys saw me. I had to go grab my Brandon Bills hat right now because we're talking about the premium headwear and apparel, not just in the state of Arizona, but all over the country. I have like 5 Brandon Bills hats, Kevin, just sitting in my room right next to me, easily accessible for whatever I need it for most, whether it's a snapback, a trucker, a fitted, a beanie. even a t-shirt, you name it, man. Branded Bills, they have the ultimate custom headwear and apparel for you. And our promo code of BBPHNX is going to get you 15% off your first order. Check out that campus collection. They got some at the bookstore down in Tucson, some special edition lids that Kevin and I are very, very high on. So if you haven't checked those out yet, please do so. But they, of course, have a great selection on their website as well. And the best Wildcats hats in the business. You see this one. I wore it earlier this week on the show. Love that great state of Arizona outline. The face of Arizona is this logo right here, Kevin. That's as far as I'm concerned. And this hat proves it. Branded Bills, 15% off, BBPHNX. Head to brandedbills.com and use that promo code.
I wanted to respond to Edgar's comment asking if we're going to see the full bear rug that's in my new crib. I don't know what you're talking. There is no bear rug. I have a cheap little tiger rug from Amazon in my home office upstairs. So
it's not a bear rug. It's just a much more rare and harder to access.
It's a Siberian tiger, actually. It's a white Siberian tiger, which that's a fact.
There's only 200 of them in the world.
Well, 199 now. But like we were talking about, Damon has the Branded Bills, like Infinity Stones, as Edgar says. I actually need to get like a new setup for my Branded Bills in my place so that I can have them on deck at all times. I love, and this is what I was really getting at, I love the softball hat that you and I saw down at the Tucson location in the Arizona campus store, because you really don't see softball stuff very often. And despite how big of a brand Arizona is as a softball team, or a program, I should say, rather. So it was really cool to see Branded Bills like represent all of the sports in that way. And yeah, shout out to Branded Bills. We love you guys. Ad is over though. And we are talking about, you wanted to talk about the offseason grades a little bit before we got out of here, right?
Yeah, let's dive into the offseason grades, and then we'll hit some quick fall camp football news and notes before the hour mark. But here was the field of 68 offseason grades that they ended up giving out. Jeff Goodman going with a B+, and John Fanta going with an A- over there at field of 68. You can see there transfers in. You got Evan Nelson, you got Jaden Bradley, Tobe Awaka, Mo Krivas, Anthony Del Orso, and some walk-ons coming back. And then you, of course, have Koa Peat, Brayden Burries, Dwayne Aristode, Bryce James coming in with Mobile Mawat, CD Gay, and Ivan Kharchenkov, all unranked and kind of being those international prospects that are a little less known. So, Kevin, I know Goodman is kind of considered an Arizona hater, right? And it seems like he knows that he gets under the skin of Arizona fans, so he likes to take digs and poke and kind of use it to try to get some more interactions. But here in this case, it seems like maybe he's trying to get back in the good graces of some Arizona fans and be like, hey guys, look, I could be objective about the team. I like to take a big, deeper look at it and not just, be biased from my alma mater. But how do you take that grade, Kevin?
I think it's tough because I want to go in a couple directions with it, but I guess I will go in this direction. I think that it's not really him extending an olive branch, in my opinion. I think it's just like his real opinion. I think because based off of what he already has said about, I love what Arizona's done. That sounds like an A or an A+, right? But I don't like that they brought in freshmen. So that kind of gets you to that A- B+ range. So you're like, you kind of love it, but you're unsure. I think that's his truthful grade. And I don't think that I don't know. It's so tough with Goodman, in my opinion, to tell what he really thinks about Arizona, because I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that I'm a person that likes to do that. I like to try to give people the benefit of the doubt with this kind of stuff. So I think maybe he's like a tortured Arizona sports fan, like you, like some of the other people at PHNX, that you just don't believe in your squad until you see it sometimes, because you have some PTSD, right? And so maybe Goodman's just like, I don't want to be seen as the homer. I'm doing more national stuff. I don't want to just be the Arizona guy. So maybe I'm going to overthink stuff when it comes to Arizona to make sure I'm not being a homer. And maybe that's how you end up with takes like Akron to give Arizona a tough time because you don't trust Caleb Love. Arizona went on to win by 28. I think that's how you end up with stuff like that, right? And I would like to think that he's not just trying to be an irritant for the sake of a couple extra Twitter likes, that would feel quite strange because he has a nice gig. He's got a great gig. So I'd like to think that he is just being somewhat truthful and maybe overthinking things when it comes to Arizona as a means to not sound like a homer. But maybe I'm wrong. Back to the grade,
one of
though.
the dream gigs, really.
Yeah, really. Back to the grade, though. Shout out to the guy who actually probably has a bear rug or a tiger rug in his house. But I think the grade is, I disagree with it. I think my grade would have probably been an A. I don't think it was an A+ off season. I think an A+ off season would have looked like high school recruiting the way that Arizona did it, international recruiting the way that Arizona did it. And again, no disrespect, literally zero disrespect towards Evan Nelson. But I think like the A+ stuff comes when you go get like a real, I'll say starting level. I'll say starting quality transfer. So I think if you were able to go out and get at least 2 5-stars, an international rotational player, and then have the returners that they had, if you went out and got a transfer, I think that's an A+, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm with you there. I think that's a fair shout.
And with A+ like we're talking about pretty much unattainable levels of offseason grade, right? That's what I like to think of the A+ as. Like you had the perfect offseason. You can't just stumble your way into an A+. So I think Arizona had a dream offseason, and I would give them an A. I think John Fanta is right as well to give them an A- because I didn't quite watch the YouTube clip, but I'd love to hear his argument. I think that it's probably good. I would assume his logic is good for that. People love Fanta, so that's not a free ad. That's just the guy's name, Max. So, yeah. Damon, what do you think about
If it was, it's a Friday, so all good.
If it was, I like the grape.
In terms of your Goodman side of things, I think that it's a bit of I don't want to say it's a chicken or the egg thing, because I think that it in this case it's the chicken, where it's like Jeff Goodman clearly has tried his best to distance himself from being considered a biased like fan, if you will, of his university. And I'm not saying he's even a fan, because I don't think he is. I think he's literally a media member at this point who kind of has distanced himself so long ago that he probably doesn't care all that much about Arizona's success level. I also think that the Arizona fans that hate him so much and that tweet at him all the time probably galvanizes him to hate Arizona or push back against Arizona further. Whether that's conscious or subconscious, he's going to think lesser of Arizona because our fans are loud and passionate about their teams. And I'm not even saying that the fans should stop doing it. In fact, I've done it with Jeff Goodman, right? Like everyone knows that I'm in the mud. I'm swinging in the mud with everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's just the idea that, I think that he wants to be impartial, but he's worked so hard at being impartial that he's become the opposite of that. Which is a concern. In this case, nothing biased about it. I know a lot of Arizona fans were trying to say that he's basically like kissing ass. I don't see it that way. I think he's being honest. And I don't have any problem with the grade. I think me and you are kind of on the same page. A-, probably more like it, but B+, not disrespectful really at all. But Kevin, before we get out of here today, I did want to just hit you with a couple quick hitters from our guy Justin Spears out there at Arizona Fall Football Camp. Apparently, Gio Richardson and Isaiah Mizell were the stars of the show at this morning's practice. The 2 freshman wide receivers were catching a lot of passes. Seems like the offense bounced back after the defense kind of took it to them the day prior. And as we talked about, really let them know about it in the process. So good to see that it's not just like the defense going out there dominating. Maybe it was just a bad day for the quarterbacks, the receivers, the O-line, you never know. But it seems like Arizona's offense had a better day today. And then I think the most notable thing that happened out there at practice today is Trayden Stukes back in action, doing team work, not doing just individual drills, and was a part of the starting defensive back unit when they went out there and did team drills with Michael Dansby and Javion Cole at corner, both the San Jose State transfers, or I guess Javion Cole technically via Texas for our purpose, and then Genesis Smith and Dalton Johnson at the safety spots. So good to have Trayden Stukes back out there. One of the leaders of the team, no doubt about it, and going to be a key cog in this defense next year.
it's good to get Trayden Stukes out there as soon as possible too, right? Because he's coming off of a long layoff and you want him, like, for lack of a better phrase, like game ready, warmed up as much as he can be, right? Because he's already lost a lot of preparation time. And the mental side of the return, I think, is going to be just as important as the physical side of the return. And we've talked to Stukes a little bit about that here and there, about his mindset coming back. And he's spoken to me about how he knows that he's going to have to calm himself down when he gets out there against Hawaii, because there's going to be a adrenaline dump. Like, he's going to have a moment where he's just bulling a China shop, like, but you got to control your weapons. So to steal an MMA term, right? You got to be able to control your weapons at all times. And I think, like, Trayden Stukes getting out there looking good is important earlier rather than later. And because I know we have how long we got? 15 more days till the Hawaii game. So you got a couple weeks.
16.
Right? 16 more games till the Hawaii. 16 more days.
No, wait. It was Will Plummer days away. So that's all I know.
Shout out to my guy Juan Serrano, man. But yeah, like, you got like 2 weeks.
15.
No matter how you cut it, you got 2 weeks. And I think that getting Stukes out there sooner rather than later to try to get him back into playing shape is going to be super important. And not only playing shape physically, because I think he probably keeps himself in good shape year round, but like also just being sharp mentally out there is going to be super key for Trayden Stukes. So I love to hear that.
Yep. That's going to wrap it up for us today, Kevin. Another fun Friday show with a lot to talk about. Shout out Saul Bookman for hopping in and surprising us with a little bit of a mystery guest action, bringing some Friday energy for us. Much needed.
Fired up Friday. We're going to have to make it a thing.
Fired up Friday. And of course, we'll be back on Monday at 2 p.m. in our brand stinking new studio, HQ.
I kind of can't believe it.
No, it's pretty crazy how fast that the turnaround is happening, considering
that's what I'm
literally
saying.
Did a show yesterday in the other studio,
and we were at the new studio today, and it was empty. And so not empty, I shouldn't say that, but it was like in the bare bones stage of being set up. And so the vision is there, but I'm just like, wow, the turnaround, impressive. Shout out to all our teammates, right, making it happen. So yeah,
absolutely. And shout out you guys here in the chat for watching along with us. We had so much fun today talking ball. Like this video. Appreciate you, Edgar. Appreciate everybody else as well. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me at Damon Dog. Follow my guy Kevin at Kevo Post, and follow us at PHNX_Wildcats. Actually, don't follow me if you don't want a guy, just a crazy man who is constantly just putting my war paint on, ready to just, fight for the things that I truly believe in life. But I say that in jest, because I actually recently, Kevin, the things that have fired people up that I have said have not been intentionally on my part, which is not necessarily always the case. I can admit when I'm baiting people, or when I know that a tweet that I always tweet my opinions and thoughts, and they're always genuine, but there's times where you're trying to be a little incendiary. This week, I haven't really been trying to be incendiary at all, and yet I've just had thousands of people in my mentions screaming at me. So
I mean, it might not even just be you. Maybe something's in the air, because I put out my show tweet today, and I got told to shut the F up in response to my show tweet. And so I was thinking,
dude, Twitter is just a cesspool these days. It sucks,
it's
but whatever.
We wade through it every day. We wade through the waters every day.
If that's the downside of our job, that's the best job in the world. That's how the way that we got to look at it. So we get to podcast, talk about sports for a living every day. Love you guys for watching. We'll be back on Monday at 2 p.m. like I said. But until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Have a fired up rest of your Friday. Boom!
We all silly like the mayor.